Mercedes-Benz is the most storied and the winningest German automaker. On the second point, many would argue that Porsche holds that title. However, Mercedes actively withdrew from motorsport for decades, yet still has 128 Grand Prix wins against Porsche's one. For its passenger cars, Mercedes is best known as a pioneer of technology. Today, I briefly introduce 14 iconic, most collectible Mercedes vehicles. The W06 Mercedes SSK was a pre-war sports car that dominated racing, including the 1931 Mille Miglia and numerous Grand Prix victories. Its name is an abbreviation of Super Sport Course. It was powered by an M06 7.1-liter supercharged single-overhead cam inline-six that developed 300 horsepower paired to a 4-speed manual transmission. This made it the fastest car in the world. The SSK was designed by Ferdinand Porsche. The W29 Mercedes 540K was a Grand Tourer powered by a 5.4-liter supercharged inline-8 engine that developed 180 horsepower. This was paired to either 4-speed or optional 5-speed manual transmission. The 540K was one of the largest and most luxurious cars of its time. The coachwork, built by Mercedes in-house at Sindelfingen, was highly customizable. With a striking design and advanced technology for the era, the 540K was a symbol of wealth and status in Europe. It was designed by Friedrich Geiger. The W198 Mercedes 300 SL, commonly known as the Gullwing for its doors, is often considered the most iconic and collectible Mercedes of all time. It was powered by an M198 3-liter single-overhead cam inline-6 that developed 240 horsepower paired to a 4-speed manual transmission. The engine featured dry sump lubrication and Bosch mechanical direct fuel injection. The 300 SL had a tubular frame and 4-wheel independent suspension. It was the fastest production car in the world. The 300 SL was designed by Friedrich Geiger. The W100 Mercedes-Benz 600 was an ultra-luxury sedan favored by celebrities, tycoons, political leaders, and dictators. It was the vehicle that has driven the highest number of heads of state. Known as the Grosse, the 600 is markedly larger and heavier than its contemporaries. Yet unlike Rolls-Royce of the period, which had become archaic, the 600 was a technology tour de force. It has numerous hydraulically driven amenities from windows to the sunroof, as well as self-leveling air suspension. The car was powered by an M100 6.3-liter single-head cam V8 with mechanical fuel injection that developed 247 horsepower paired to a 4-speed automatic transmission. This was Mercedes' first V8. The 600 was designed by Bruno Sacco, Friedrich Geiger, and Paul Bracq. The long-wheelbase Pullman was priced as $24,000 in 1965. The W113 was a sports car that came in both coupe and convertible body styles. The coupe has a distinctive concave roofline, from which it received the nickname Pagoda. The 280 SL was the final version powered by an M130 2.8-liter single-overhead cam inline-6 that developed 168 horsepower paired to a 4-speed manual, automatic, or 5-speed manual transmission. It was designed by Paul Bracq and Bela Berani. The Pagoda was a cultural symbol of the 1960s and is highly regarded for its timeless design and engineering excellence. The W109 was the long-wheelbase version of the W108, which was the predecessor to the S-Class. It featured advanced safety features and sophisticated engineering. The 300 SCL 6.3 was powered by the same 6.3-liter M100 V8 from the 600 Grosse. Since the W109 was a significantly lighter car, it was considered the first German super sedan, though it fell short of the AM107 Maserati Quattroporte in performance. Like the W100, the 300 SCL 6.3 also featured self-leveling air suspension. It was designed by Paul Bracke and Friedrich Geiger. The W111 was a series of luxury vehicles best known for their tail fins, which obviously drew inspiration from American cars of the 1950s. The W111 introduced features like crumple zones and was highly influential in the development of modern automotive safety standards. The 280 SE 3.5 was the range topper powered by an M116 3.5-liter single overhead cam V8 that developed 197 horsepower. It was made in coupe and convertible forms. The 280 SE 3.5 is best known as the first post-war Mercedes coupe with an engine over 3 liters. It was designed by Paul Bracke. The W116 was the first S-Class. It introduced many safety innovations, such as ABS, and established the S-Class as the benchmark for luxury and technology. The 450 SCL 6.9 was the range topper powered by a 6.83-liter version of the M100 V8 from the 600 Grosse that developed 282 horsepower paired to a 3-speed automatic transmission. It had dry sump lubrication so as to fit into the tight engine bay. The 450 SCL 6.9 featured Mercedes' first hydropneumatic self-leveling suspension. The W116 was designed by Friedrich Geiger. The W201 was Mercedes' first compact class vehicle and the predecessor to the C-Class. As Mercedes wanted to take the 190e rallying, they asked Cosworth to develop the powerful version. The resulting 2.3-liter double overhead cam 16-valve engine was loosely based on the M102 inline-4, developing 183 horsepower. An improved 2.5-liter version was introduced in 1988 with 201 horsepower. It had 5-speed manual transmission as standard, while 4-speed automatic was optional. The 190e 2.3 16 is known for its racing success in touring car racing. It was designed by Bruno Sacco. The W126 is often considered the best-built Mercedes S-Class and was a cultural icon of the 1980s. Because the United States had long instituted emissions regulations, affluent American buyers complained that their Mercedes were slower than European versions. In 1985, Mercedes addressed this issue with a US-only 560 SE powered by an M117 5.5-liter single-overhead cam V8 that developed up to 295 horsepower. The 560 SCC was the coupe body style of the W126. It has refined yet imposing styling that still turns heads today. Its technology and features still feel modern. The C126 was designed by Bruno Sacco. The W126 E-Class is broadly considered the last well-built Mercedes. It was actually developed from the W201 platform and uses the latter's multi-link rear suspension. The 500e was the high-performance version co-created with Porsche. Since Porsche widened the chassis to fit the M119 5-liter double overhead cam V8, it would no longer fit through the assembly line at Sindelfingen. Mercedes had to let Porsche assemble the car. The 500e developed 322 horsepower and used a 4-speed automatic transmission. It was designed by Bruno Sacco. The CLK GTR is the most extreme Mercedes road car ever. Built as a homologation special. It joins the McLaren F1 to represent the hypercar of the 1990s. The CLK GTR has a carbon fiber and aluminum honeycomb monocoque and pull rod suspensions. It was powered by an M297 6.9-liter double overhead cam V12 that developed 622 horsepower. Two super sport cars had the 7.3-liter version with 655 horsepower. The transmission of choice was a 6-speed automated manual. The CLK GTR had a brief but highly successful racing history. The SLR McLaren was a high-performance Grand Tourer co-developed with McLaren. Its elongated hood line and rearward cabin position pays homage to the Mercedes Silver Arrows in the 1930s. It was powered by an M155 5.4-liter supercharged single-overhead cam V8 that developed 617 horsepower. The special 722 edition had an uprated version with 641 horsepower. The transmission of choice was the 5G-tronic 5-speed automatic. The SLR McLaren has a carbon fiber body and was designed by Gordon Murray. The SLS AMG was the spiritual successor to the 300SL and the SLR McLaren, though it retailed at less than half the price of the SLR. It is best known for its elongated hood line and gullwing doors. The SLS AMG was powered by an M159 6.2-liter double overhead cam V8 paired to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. In the Ultimate Black series, it developed 622 horsepower. The SLS was the swan song of naturally aspirated cars from Sindelfingen.